On my third rewatch of Godzilla vs. Kong, yes, I've watched this film 4 times now, I came to a startling conclusion that nearly made me re-evaluate my priorities for this series. As I was watching Madison Russell and her friend look for the podcast host, I openly yelled out, "I didn't think it was this long." Do with that what you will. Currently, my plan is to go through the podcast crew's story in part 8, and as tempted as I am to push them up the schedule, I'm sticking to the plan. I wanted to mention them here because their journey, as fruitless and inconsequential as it is in the film, has some worrying aspects to it that link to the opening credits of Godzilla vs. Kong. Originally, my issues with the opening credits were limited to what everyone else, from what I've seen, has a problem with. Having gone through the opening credits more thoroughly, however, I now have a few more issues to add to the list. Godzilla vs. Kong is starting to remind me of Star Wars The Last Jedi. Every time you look at it, you find something new to complain about. With that said, let's begin. The opening credits start with a montage of clips, images and sound bites. As per Godzilla Killing the Monsters, as the cast and crew names appear, text around them is blocked out like it's some sort of secret document. I thought these blocked out texts might have added something to the montage, but the ones I saw made no references to the image they were next to, so I eventually gave up. Initially I dismissed the montage as nothing more than random filler. Having noticed one clip stand out, however, I looked into the rest and discovered some interesting, worrying and laughable sources. Some sound bites and images I could not find the sources for, but considering what the ones I could find were, I'm interested to learn what the others are purely for the lols. The montage includes a 1951 American film called Unknown Worlds, the first North Pole flyover in 1926, Project High Jump, America's attempt at colonizing Antarctica in 1946, and the Chauvet Caves, a French cave system discovered in 1994. There are also references to Dr. Lin's book, a character who shows up later in the film, along with some kind of report stating his discrediting. These are sewn in with the rest of the montage to make everything seem connected. On the surface, these seem random and harmless, like I stated before, just filler. But what caught my eye was Project High Jump. Due to the secretive nature in which it was carried out by the American government, Project High Jump has been the subject of many conspiracy theories, including but not limited to the Hollow Earth. Its location at the South Pole creates a tenuous link to the 1926 expedition to the North Pole. That Godzilla vs. Kong turns into a Hollow Earth expedition. The Hollow Earth theory makes an obvious connection to the Unknown Worlds film, or at least the soundbite taken from it talking about passages in the Earth. Finally, the Chauvet Caves, in real life filled with extinct animal remains and cave paintings dating back tens of thousands of years, are roped into the grand conspiracy. Godzilla vs. Kong changed the Hollow Earth dramatically from previous incarnations, with little to no explanation in the film's story. This opening montage of historical references might be the film's way of providing a backstory to the new Hollow Earth. Godzilla vs. Kong using historical events to bolster its story is not new to the Monsterverse. Castle Bravo, not that one, this one, along with the other Pacific nuclear tests and the first nuclear submarine, the USS Nautilus, were used in Godzilla 2014 in a similar vein. Artwork from various ages and cultures is also used in King of the Monsters for Ghidorah. Godzilla vs. Kong doing the same fundamentally isn't bad, it's the execution. The previous films wove the backstory, the additional facts, into the main story being told. Godzilla vs. Kong crams these additional notes in at the start of the film, almost as an afterthought. Just like so much of this film, these barely thought through changes cause issues. Godzilla was discovered in 1954. Before that, we have ancient cave paintings as primary sources. The opening credits of Godzilla vs. Kong now adds 1926, 1946 and 1951. This throws off our understanding of the Monsterverse timeline. Godzilla vs. Kong might be trying to expand the throwaway lines from the previous films, pandering to conspiracy nuts by making a grand conspiracy about the Hollow Earth that exists separately to the Titans. More likely, these are completely random bits of media smashed together to make us think the mutated version of the Monsterverse Godzilla vs. Kong is presenting is more fleshed out than it actually is. To support this latter idea, there was another blink and you miss it image in the montage that, when I found out what it was, boggled my mind. Initially, I thought it was a line from a Sherlock Holmes story. Delving deeper, it turned out to be a description of the first telephone call from 1876, with a reference to ancient enemies crudely added onto the end. Why? Good question. It makes no sense whatsoever. Moving on. After the initial alt history conspiracy references, the credits show images of Godzilla, Kong, a very basic representation of Kong's dome, I think mine's better, and Skull Island. These images show the new location of Skull Island, providing an animation of how it was relocated across the sea by the film. It's almost comical how it's depicted. The credits offer a meta reason why this is the case, but we'll get to that. Skull Island is also shown being wrapped in the perpetual storm. Given how much I went on about it in my last video, I hope there might be some context or even just text, providing some enlightenment as to the meteorological change. No such luck. Again, the blocked out text was immaterial to the image. Despite the visual of the storm's takeover, we the audience are still in the dark as to when and why the storm did what it did. Then we get to what caught my attention in the first place. What caught everyone's attention. After a reminder of a much better film, a picture of the Mutos came onto the screen with "defeated" scrawled across it. As soon as I saw this, I was worried. My worries and my certainty increased when a clip from another better film was shown, followed by a picture of a skull crawler, "defeated." When Ghidorah appeared with the same label stamped across it, my fears were confirmed. As more and more titans appeared on screen, stamped and sorted into brackets like this was some kind of tournament, questions arose. For starters, what? Are the titans dead? All of them? These titans are all over the shop. Why would Godzilla go around the world killing them? According to a news report later in the film, there have been no titan sightings in 3 years, so that can't have happened. At the end of Godzilla killing the monsters, they were submissive to Godzilla. Did the titans, after the credits rolled, all shout "Bundle!" and jump on Godzilla in a titanic tussle that Godzilla had to nuclear pulse his way out of? If they're not defeated, if they are in fact alive and just living passively or sleeping, why are they labelled as defeated? My guess is Godzilla vs. Kong is making its intentions clear. This was a film about Godzilla and Kong fighting. That's it, nothing more, nothing less. Just like the Hollow Earth panders to conspiracy theorists, this imagery panders to a crowd who only wanted to watch big monsters go smash smash. As the final tournament brackets are presented, front and centre, the opening credits zoom into a globe in the background, flying down into it much like the plot would fall into the Hollow Earth later in the film. But what's that on the globe? Markers, showing Godzilla's and Kong's locations on opposite sides of the Pacific Ocean. Once again, I'm left to wonder whether the makers of Godzilla vs. Kong bothered to watch the previous films. After realising Skull Island had been relocated, I imagined it was to avoid Godzilla's roots so Kong could be transported to Antarctica more feasibly. The globe at the end of the opening credits looks to support this, but I was confused. Fort Bravo, no, not that one, this one, was close to the American continent and Godzilla's route was close to Fort Bravo. So Godzilla was actually close to America, not Asia as shown here. This meant moving Skull Island closer to America would only exacerbate the issues, right? Turns out, I was wrong. It's actually worse than I remembered. During the scene in Godzilla Killing the Monsters, after Godzilla has approached Castle Bravo, yes, that one, Mark Russell, a character left in the dust in Godzilla vs. Kong, requests Godzilla's territorial routes. The map then shows routes all around the globe. Every ocean. Everywhere. The idea of avoiding Godzilla's normal routes when transporting Kong via sea is impossible. The globe map in the credits doesn't take this into account at all. It makes no sense. So what are we left with? The opening credits attempt to inject historical significance into Godzilla vs. Kong, along with a feeling of building tensions and expectations of a final clash between champions that, until now, have kept their distance. Unfortunately, if the history provided is acknowledged, all it does is bring up questions of continuity. The show of a titanic tournament stands in shallow contrast to the previous films and their deeply thought through stories. The global map is a magnifying glass on the creator's lack of understanding of the Monsterverse. There are other stories that could have been told, better stories that made sense, but then you wouldn't get Big Monkey Punch Laser Lizard, and then where would we be? With a smarter film, probably. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you're enjoying the journey we're going on so far, and I hope you will join me for the rest, once I get round to making it. If you want to support me or fancy some Lovecraftian jewellery, feel free to visit my Etsy store, link in the description. Once again, thank you, and I'll see you again soon.